Have you ever felt like you're the only one trying to do the right thing in a world that seems to be going completely off the rails? Imagine a time when things were so bad, so dark, that wickedness had spread across the entire earth like a shadow that just wouldn't lift. It felt like every thought, every single intention of humanity was bent toward chaos and violence. It was a world drowning in its own corruption. But in the middle of all this, there was one man who was different. His name was Noah. Noah walked with God. He chose a different path, a path of faith and obedience in a world that had forgotten its creator. And because Noah listened when no one else would, he heard something extraordinary. God spoke to him, warning him of a great, cleansing flood that was coming to wash the world clean. "Build an ark," God commanded. And this wasn't just a vague suggestion. God gave him a detailed blueprint, every measurement, every beam, every single window and door. He described how to build this massive vessel that would save him and his family from the coming storm. Now, put yourself in Noah's shoes. Can you imagine what that must have been like? Building a giant boat in the middle of dry land? It was a task that made no sense to the world around him. And as you can guess, his neighbors thought he was absolutely crazy. They mocked him, they laughed at him, they pointed fingers. "Look at old Noah," they'd say, building a boat with no water in sight. But Noah didn't let their ridicule stop him. He kept his head down and kept working. He cut the gopher wood. He shaped the beams. He sealed every seam with pitch, just as he was told. Day after day, year after year, he worked, fueled not by what he could see, but by his unshakable trust in the one who had spoken to him. He was building on a promise, not on public opinion. This was an incredible act of faith, a testament to his belief that God's word was more real than the world he saw every day. When the massive ark was finally complete, something miraculous happened. God sent the animals. Not in a stampede, but in an orderly procession, 2 by 2, they came. From the largest elephants to the smallest insects, every kind of creature made its way to the ark, and Noah guided them inside. Finally, Noah led his own family, his wife, his 3 sons, and their wives, into the safety of the vessel. He had done everything God had asked. The door was sealed, and they waited. Then it began. The skies split open with a fury no one had ever seen. Rain didn't just fall, it poured in torrents. But it wasn't just from above. The fountains of the great deep roared to life, and water burst forth from the earth itself. The waters rose with terrifying speed, swallowing hills, then mountains. Everything outside the ark, every living thing that had mocked and ignored the warning, vanished beneath the churning waves. The world, as Noah knew it, was gone, cleansed by the very waters he had been preparing for. For months, the ark was adrift on a boundless ocean, a tiny speck of life in a world reborn. Inside, Noah and his family cared for the animals. Their lives a floating sanctuary, sustained by their faith and God's promise. Finally, after what must have felt like an eternity, the waters began to recede. The tops of the mountains appeared like new islands in a vast sea. Eventually, the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. The great flood was over. When Noah stepped out onto dry ground, can you imagine the mix of emotions? Relief, gratitude, maybe even a little bit of trembling awe at the power he had just witnessed. The world was new, clean, and quiet. The first thing Noah did wasn't to build a house for himself, but to build an altar for God. He offered a sacrifice of thanksgiving, and the sweet aroma of his worship rose to the heavens. God accepted his offering and made a covenant, a promise, symbolized by a rainbow in the clouds, that he would never again destroy the earth with a flood. Noah's story is a powerful reminder that even when the world seems lost, one person's faith and obedience can make all the difference. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more videos like this.